Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hope you are all having a fantastic day. Nice to see the chat going before we even get into it. But what I better check is, can you guys actually hear me so far? Is everything coming through loud and clear? All right, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Claudia and Carol, for cameras on. It's nice to see some faces. If anybody else would love to like to turn the cameras on, that would be really cool. It is actually nice as well when I'm presenting to be able to see some faces. I know it's the end of the day. We've probably all had a tough old day. Oh, there we go. Some faces. Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys, for turning those cameras on. It's nice for me to be able to see some faces as we go through tonight's session. Tonight's session is one that I guess I hold quite dear to myself. The whole concept of creating wealth or creating a legacy through property is certainly something that means a lot to me. So I'm really excited to be able to share with you guys some ideas tonight. I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of deals as well, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Now, I want to make sure as well, cameras are on. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Let's check out the chat if that is working, because I will be going to the chat a couple of times. Can everybody just jump in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from tonight? We're in Australia or New Zealand. I'm sure most people are from New Zealand, but I did see a couple of Australians that registered. It's always nice to have a couple of Aussies join us from across the ditch. Christchurch. Brilliant. Isn't it great how Christchurch, all they have to do is go chicha. Awesome. Sarah, thank you. Sarah, just in case you didn't realize you've got that as a direct message, so no one else can see that you're from Auckland, New Zealand, Dubai. Oh, interesting. Whangarei, there you go, Sarah, thank you very much. Auckland, couple of you coming in from Auckland. Brilliant. Well, I am coming into you from Auckland as well. So my office at Wealth Mentor is here in Howick in East Auckland. I've actually been kicked out of my office because we actually got some clients that are working with us at the moment over the next 3 days. So I've actually been kicked out into the lobby almost. My office is through there where I usually do this from. But yeah, you're coming to you from a different spot of the office today, which is really cool. So looking forward to being able to take you guys through tonight's session. Give you a little bit of background as to what we're going to be covering off in tonight's session is the whole idea about using property as the vehicle to create legacy, to create that long-term wealth that can be created for you and your family. It's something that we are obviously very, very conscious of, or we want to create to be able to get the best from ourselves and for our kids. So I'm going to be able to show you guys tonight, first of all, how one deal can actually equal 1 year's worth of salary. So all it takes is one deal to be able to say, well, I'm not really keen on those 40 hours a week. I'm going to be showing you guys a little bit about that, how we take the idea of equity and leverage. So equity, what it is in terms of having equity in the house, how we can leverage it, how we can use that equity to then purchase more properties, and the ideas around that. I'll be sharing with you also how you can actually use the wealth in your portfolio and how that's accumulated over multiple years and can grow on, and you can look to leave that legacy for your family or for your loved ones. And I've definitely got some current examples because that's really important. We want to be able to show you guys a couple of ideas or a couple of deals that are happening in the current market. And I'm going to finish off with a deal that I've just finished up a reno on, and it's actually on the market now. Open homes this weekend if you want to go check it out, you guys in Auckland as well. So just to be able to show you guys what is possible in the current market as well. I'll be sharing that with you guys at the end of tonight's session. Anyway, a little bit about who I am. Who here has not or has seen me speak before? Let's go yes or no. Have you seen me speak? Yes. Or it's the first time you've jumped on any session that I've done, chuck in a no. Very interested to see that, which would be cool. Yes. All right. Cool. Yes. Well, that's a good start. First time, Johnny. Nice to meet you. I've got a little rule as well. If your beard is bigger than mine, you're not allowed to actually have your camera on. So you're okay, mate. You can keep your camera on. It's all good. Yes. Awesome. Cool. Cool. Very cool. So, like I said, my name is John Frankel, and my role here tonight is to be able to share as much ideas with you guys as I can in terms of property. But a bit about myself before I do get into that. And I always find it weird talking about myself, but I guess I need to give you guys a bit of an introduction for those of you who haven't seen me as much as to who I am. So, for me, number one, in all that I do is around my family and creating the best life I can for me and my family. That is my family there that you can see. So everything I do, like I say, is based around what I can do for my family. Now, the interesting part about my journey is my first ever property investment that I did was actually on a reality TV show, where the whole concept was essentially flipping a house, where the parents would buy the house, you would flip it, and the profits then gave the kids the ability to go out there and purchase a property from there. So that was something that I did. That was in, I've lost, maybe 2014-ish, so about 8-9 years ago now. That was done, so a lot fresher faced, and I made myself look like a complete idiot. So please, I ask you, please do not go on and watch any of the shows that I was on. I'm head of property here at Wealth Mentor. We got many amazing mentors, amazing students achieving sensational stuff out in the market, and really, really proud of that. Myself, I'm a full-time investor, have been for a number of years now, in multiple different strategies, and educated many, many students. So really proud to be able to do that. And most importantly, actually, no, not most importantly, but I do love a good barbecue, and I'm a bit of a sports fanatic, so I'm sure that none of you really care. But hey, the Black Caps won a test today by 1 run, which is an amazing accomplishment. And for me, I care about that stuff as well. Anyway, on the note of who you are as an individual, it's really important to think back to yourself in terms of the whole wealth concept, because wealth for each one of you that's on this call tonight will have a different concept or a different meaning or a different perception of what wealth is to you as an individual. And I want you to think about that in terms of wealth, that the impact that you're making for generations. Is the impact for generations to come? Is it for the generations that have been? Many people want to help their parents. That there is something I'm quite passionate about. My parents moved to New Zealand from South Africa many years ago, and I didn't actually realize the massive sacrifice that they made in actually moving, and how financially impacted they were by moving to New Zealand. So being able to help them and help them build a portfolio, currently working through a subdivision on Dad's property that has been a lot of fun dealing with Auckland Council, I can tell you that much. But these are the ways that you can help those people around you through the knowledge that you can gain. I'm really blessed to have 2 beautiful daughters, Isla and Harley, and I've actually also very fortunate to have another one on the way as well. So in August, there'll be 3, don't know yet, but probably girls, because that seems to be the way that I roll at the moment. So yeah, very excited in that regard. Love being able to teach, jumping in here on a Tuesday night to be able to share with you guys some ideas around property. It gives me a lot of joy, and don't mind a round of golf. But you guys are not here to listen about who I am. But what I want you to think about before I do get into the concepts of this, what is your legacy going to look like? And this is something that we talk a lot about amongst our group, amongst our mentors, amongst our students, because when you think about what your legacy is, you start to think about property in a whole different light. It's not just about, property investors, who can have quite a bad name. It's not all about the fancy cars, the nice watches, the first class holidays. Yes, those are nice, but is that really why you're looking to use property as a vehicle? Or is the whole concept of using property as a vehicle to be able to free up some time? Is it to be able to ensure that your retirement gives you the opportunity to be able to ensure that you are supported, not relying on pensions for retirement? Or is it that, you just don't want to work and you just want to find a vehicle that you can actually use to not slacken off, but just enjoy your time and choose where you put your time? So really important to think about what that looks like. Because at the end of the day, when you start to understand what it is that you're looking to do with property, then we can take a backward step and understand the best strategies around how you are going to implement your property investment journey. And the key thing to remember, that it only really takes one property investment done correctly, only one deal. If you are out there and you accomplish one deal following the right principles, the right strategies, you will be able to change your life, your family's life with that one deal. Now, I said today that I would be sharing with you guys how one deal can actually get rid of a year's salary in one deal. And I'm going to start off with that. And it's not like I'm saying to you, you have to go and buy a $2 million house to be able to make $100,000, because there's return on investments are definitely not what we want to be able to achieve. But I'm going to share with you a deal that one of our students has done. And I actually called him about 10 minutes before we jumped on. I said, you know what, Tim, I need you to jump on this webinar tonight. Now, he's busy cooking dinner for his family, because that's who he is, but he's going to jump on later on and give us a little bit of a background on this. But I'd like to share with you guys this deal that Tim is currently doing in Timaru. I find it brilliant how Tim's doing a deal in Timaru. But you can have a look that you don't need to be going out and purchasing multi-million-dollar properties in order to create a profit margin that might create the ability to give you that year's salary. This deal that Tim has done here is a $160,000 purchase. Yes, it needs a fairly large renovation. You can see that it's had some better days. But what you can see is by understanding values, there's the ability to make $140,000 of profit on one deal. Now, I want you to really just grasp that for a second. One deal can create that amount of profit. Now, yes, you're going to have to pay taxes on it, but guess what? When you go out there, I guess a bit different for you, Johnny, living in Dubai, but when you go out there and you are purchasing property, you will pay taxes on your gain. When you are working 40 hours per week, getting paid a salary, you'll pay taxes on your salary. So try and get into the concept. Well, yes, you will pay taxes, but you have to pay tax on your salary as well. But the other part about it is that when you start to understand taxes, you can be more tax efficient. I'm not going to have time to get into that tonight. I would love to, but being able to understand how you can actually start to claim some of your expenses as well is pretty cool. When you can claim your car, your travel, your travel's a good one. Go and visit your properties or go look at potential properties, or even just your phone bills, little things like that. And we will cover that off in further education if any of you guys are interested in learning more about the taxes side of it. Now, a little bit of an inside word is that Tim actually has this property already under contract to sell. Now, he hasn't done the renovation, and I'm not going to give you much more because I'd like Tim to be able to share that news with you, how he has gone about it with this deal to be able to actually sell it before his renovation. He's not making $140,000 profit, but how he's actually able to do it and ensure a better return on investment. So how do we get ourselves into a position to be able to make steps like this, to be able to take steps like this, to be able to find the right types of properties, to be able to create that income? Well, we're going to use an acronym. It's the brilliant part about it is we're going to use an acronym called START. Now I'm going to work through this because the first thing that we need to establish is what strategy for you as an individual is going to get you to what you desire from property. What does wealth mean to you? What do you need or require from property? Because then we can go, right, what is the best strategy to implement for you to be able to achieve that? Now, there's multiple different strategies. And on my next slide, I'm going to give you a pyramid which shows you all the different strategies. But it could be that you are looking to set up for your retirement by having a passive income coming in. Well, then we need to have a look at properties that are going to create a passive income through rents that are achieved that are larger than the expenses so that you can create a cash flow and you can work towards that. If it is that you're looking to just create that nice pocket of cash because, hey, you're pretty keen on buying that nice new Mercedes, well, then a trade might be the way to go down. So just consider that. Once you've got established a strategy, it's about training yourself within that strategy to be able to ensure that you're making the right decisions. You're understanding exactly what is the best process to be able to ensure that you are getting the profit that you desire from that property. So we understand, first of all, what's our strategy? We train and we understand exactly what principles we need to do to ensure that we're getting the profit margin from that. And then we have a look at what area we can implement the correct strategy. Now, very important when you go through this, that every strategy will be able to be implemented in different areas. It's not like you can just go out to any old area and go, right, in this area, I might try development, for example. That might not fit the desired target market. It might not fit the desired infrastructure that's in place, or the strategy is just not right for the types of buyers that are currently buying in that market. So once you've established that strategy, you research that area, we get clear on exactly what it is we're going to be looking to purchase in that area. We understand our values, we understand the streets, we understand what is what's the good side of the street, what is the rents in different areas, who's buying. We do that research so that at the end of the day, we can then transact. And once we can transact, that's when we've got the asset, we've got the transaction working, and we're in the position to be able to start to create the wealth, the legacy that you guys are looking to create through property. There is not a one size fits all for property. I want to stress that. There is not a one size fits all for property. My journey on my property investment journey is very different to every one of my mentors because everybody starts from a different position. and everybody's got a different goal and a different end goal where they're looking to achieve. It's a matter of us making sure we can find the best strategy to implement that to compress those timelines. And getting into property is often an interesting one because, hey, everybody knows property. I'm not going to get you to do this because it's a pretty obvious one, but who here lives in a property? Everybody understands the concept of property and everybody feels like they know. And when you go to the barbecue or with your mates on the Saturday, or you go to the family barbecue, everybody's got their opinion on property. But I think it's really important to try and knuckle down and get clear on what it is actually happening. And a little bit of a market update. Be careful of taking what is happening in the whole of the country and apply it to one pocket that you're investing in. Don't take what the whole country is doing and apply it to your pocket. Understand your pocket, understand your strategy, because every pocket within this country is different. That is a little gem, guys. And if you haven't written that one down, you really want to, because it is hard, or it's easy, should I say, to read the Herald and hear the doom and gloom and apply it to your pocket. Every pocket is very different. So what are the strategies we could be implementing? Here's a little bit of a look at the different levels of our property investment pyramid. Down the bottom, owning our own home. The Kiwi dream. It might be one of the best first steps in your property investment journey. It may be. For some people, being able to leverage KiwiSaver, potentially being able to purchase a property that has income streams, or being able to create equity through a first home is a great way. Now, as well as that, you've got buy and hold, which is your standard buy a property, rent it out, achieve your income associated to it, cash flow, equity creation. Flipping trading, I've already shown you one, Tim's deal on Timaru, which is buy, renovate, and sell. Tim's case, you don't even have to renovate it necessarily. And then we've got multiple income. These are the two strategies at the top that are creating larger profits. So multiple income, that there is buying a property that has multiple income streams in terms of rents or boarding houses or sleep outs, for example. Or then we go up to the stage where a lot of people have a lot of fear, which is developments. And a lot of students will progress up towards developments, but not everybody. For me, it's not a space that I want to do. I've done some minor stuff, minor subdivisions, but I don't want to go out there and be a big time developer. That's got no interest to me. It doesn't align with who my wealth game is and what my bigger legacy is. So it's a matter of figuring that one out. Now, one thing that you will hear a lot around property is that property, in terms of values, double every 7 to 10 years. Now, I'm sure that everybody's heard that. If they've done any research within property, you've probably heard that. Now, I believe it, and I back it up by stats, because there is clear stats that show that property has doubled in value every 7 to 10 years. But one of the things that I always teach people is be careful of buying based on property growing, because we know that property grows. That's a fantastic byproduct. It's a fantastic addition to our investments. But imagine if you learn how to buy property and being able to ensure that you're creating wealth in the instance you buy it, or by forced appreciation. I'm talking about renovations, rather than requiring the property market to increase. And when the property market does increase, it's amplified growth on your investments. That is something that when you grasp, and when our students do grasp it, their wealth exponentially grows, because they start to understand the ability for them to be able to create the equity straight away and then let the market add on to it. Now, what if values do go up? I want to show you exactly how you can create, how wealth is amplified, or should I say leveraged, or can grow quite substantially when you have got a portfolio. Now, I've just done a couple of properties at a $500,000 value. So you can see here, 4 properties, $500,000 value each. In those properties, you've got $150,000 of equity in the property. So what that is a deposit. Now, everybody's situation is different. I just want to share this idea. $350,000 that's come in from a lender, usually a bank or a second tier lender. There's many different lending options, and we do go into this in our property masterclass. If you guys want to know more about other lending options, you don't just have to go to ASB or ANZ. There's many different ways that you can do it. But now suddenly, if you can do 4 of those properties, you've used $150,000 times 4. So we've used $600,000, but we've now got a $2 million portfolio. That's the power of leverage within property. $600,000 has bought you a $2 million portfolio. And if that property values are increasing at the doubling in value every 7 to 10 years, we're talking about a 5 to 10% annual growth is approximately what that is. Now, I know we've seen a dip, but if you look at it historically over a long period of time, we still see that 5 to 10% annual growth. Then you're looking at a property that's actually going to be worth approximately $3 million based on that growth over a period of time. So once you start to actually understand the ability to leverage by using banks' money, so you've got a larger portfolio than your actual invested income, you then see growth over a period of time, we start to see the extra equity that is created. A great byproduct. So let me show you another slide that's going to give you a little bit more details as to how this looks. Once we then have a longer compounding interest or compounding growth over the portfolio, you start to see even more growth on top of what we've already got. And when we have that 5 to 10% annually, it starts to see a really impressive portfolio start to grow with a wealth gain of over $1 million. And as you have those property values doubling in value every 7 to 10 years, we start to see a portfolio that goes, to all sorts of levels. Again, does that fit within your wealth game? I'm not sure. It may. But if you have gone and only bought those 4 properties, only originally putting in that $150,000 over 7 to 10 years, you've had the properties double in value. How many of these properties would we have to sell to be able to then pay off any of those debts? So now you have a property portfolio that could sit debt-free. Again, I want to stress that this is the byproduct of purchasing property, adding value, and understanding markets. The interesting part about it, I will never teach any of my students to buy based on growth. Never. I'm purely teaching based on its current value, and then any growth becomes a beautiful bonus on top of it. Now, a lot of this is talking about equity, the concept of equity. So just a hands up, because I can see quite a few cameras. Who here understands what equity is? Okay, a couple of hands popped up. Awesome. So what equity is when you've got a property, let's say you've got a property that is worth $1 million and you've got a mortgage on the property. So the bank, BNZ has a mortgage on the property of $400,000. What you've essentially got here is $600,000 of equity. Now, equity is a really cool thing. It's wealth. But the interesting thing about equity is that if you don't use the equity, it's actually doing nothing. Now, some of you may have some equity sitting in your property, and I'm going to show you how we can actually use that equity. Because you can't necessarily, let's say that you have a $400,000 property and, $1 million property and $400,000 loan, and you take it off to the bank and you go, or down to the dairy and go, you know what, I would love this pie and this Coke. Can you just chuck it on my equity? It doesn't quite work like that. But when you understand how to create usable equity, then you can start to use that equity to purchase other properties. In order to be able to do that, first of all, we need to understand LVR. So let's go back through this. We've got $1 million property and we had a $400,000 loan on the property. But the bank is saying to you, we are happy to lend you up to 80% of the value of your property. You'll see that all the time, the concept of LVR, how much you can borrow compared to the value of the property. LVR stands for loan to value ratio, how much you can borrow based on the value of the property. So if you've got that $1 million property, they're going to say, well, we're happy to lend up to 80%. Now, if they are able to lend you up to 80%, they will be looking at some of your income. I'm not here to be able to work out each individual person's situation, but that will probably come into play to be able to work out how much you borrow based on your income. But they will lend you up to 80%. Now, the cool thing about it is this thing gives us the ability to be able to work out what usable equity we have. So let's go through it again. We've got $1 million property. Bank's willing to lend us $800,000 or 80% of it, but we've already got a $400,000 mortgage on the property. So what that essentially means is that we now have the ability to take $400,000 as usable equity. That $400,000 is a deposit on a new property. That $400,000 sitting in your equity could be buying you another property. And that is really, really important to concept that. What other property you buy, again, comes back down to what is your end goal from a strategy standpoint. So it's very important to understand that. So my question to you is, if you do have equity in your property, what is it really doing for you unless you leverage it into the next property? What it's really doing is actually probably saving you, what, 6% interest at the moment? What if it could be earning you 10% on a property plus any potential growth? What if it could be earning you up to 15, 20%? I'll show you some numbers where it can be doing that. So how do we actually take that equity and leverage it? Let me show you that. We take our usable equity, we divide it amongst, divide it by how much deposit we require. So if it's 40%, then we will be able to work out our purchasing power. So run through our numbers again. $1 million home, 80% is what we can borrow, $400,000 our loan, $400,000 usable equity. So if the bank's saying, right, you can buy another property at a 60% loan to value, 60% being how much you can borrow based on the value, $400,000 goes in as your deposit. Remember, that was your usable equity. Divide that by 40% because that's how much deposit you require. Will give you the ability, using the equity in that last home, to go and buy another property for $1 million. The power of leveraging equity is why you see people be able to build portfolios over a short period of time, but using none of their own money, just the equity sitting in their home. It's really, really powerful. I'd love to know in the chat if this is the first time you've seen the idea of leveraging equity, and what your thoughts are of it. If it's not your first time, tell me, have you done it before? And are you using the strategy to be able to pull yourself a bit of a portfolio? I'd love to hear that. And while you're doing that, I'm now going to flip over and I'm going to start to show you guys a couple of deals. Now, the first deal I'm going to show you is multi-income. If you remember back to the pyramid, this is near the top of the pyramid. Multi-income is multiple streams of income from one property. It could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 20. It just needs the ability to have multiple streams coming in. So this property here was purchased by one of our clients. Now, this property has a purchase price of $733,000, 500 to be precise. The property then required a renovation. What we've got here is we've actually got 2 3-bedroom houses on one. So 3-bedroom, firewall, 3-bedroom. The property here on purchase had a $13,000 of cash flow. Now, cash flow is a number which is all your rent minus all your expenses. All your expenses being your mortgage, your rates, your property manager, your insurances, your maintenance is the number that you're left with. So this property creates $13,000 per year. So about $1,000 plus per month from this purchase. And the cool thing about this one is it's actually done at 100% loan. So what Litsa was able to do, they had equity in their home, and the bank said, great, we've got this equity. We will then give you 100% loan on this new property based on the equity that you hold within your portfolio. So the bank said, here's $733,500 to purchase this property. And they're able to ensure that that property gets them that cash flow. So I've talked about we want to be able to do that and then buy again and again and again. So what is the formula that we can implement to be able to do it over and over again? And again, and again, you're in the gist here, and again, until you actually reach those financial goals. Because we want to be able to use that equity to be able to go again. The key principle is being able to create equity. Remember I said to you, we don't want to rely on the market growing. We want to rely on the ability to create equity. How we do that is this formula right here. We buy the property below its market value. So the value of the property in its current market sits at $800,000. We buy it at $700,000. Straight away, you've made money in the buy. You find a way to add value to the property. That could be changing layouts, adding bedrooms, paint, carpets, change of title. There's many different ways that this can be done. But you look at ways that you can add the value to the property. And what that does is that creates more value in your property, which is an equity gain. This here is how you can create large amounts of wealth in your portfolio, within your I guess, your financial position by using the ability to add that equity to the property. Once you've added the equity, we then have the ability to either revalue and refinance the property, or if you're looking to do a trade, then obviously we would be selling the property and enjoying the profit along the way. So I would recommend writing this little equation down. And next time you look at a property, whether you're browsing TradeMe, whether you're browsing realestate.co.nz, look at that property and go, right, where is the value of this property? Can I buy it below that? And what could I do to it to make it worth more? How could I add wealth to my portfolio? Because if you do that, you are literally going into your transaction without relying on the property to increase in value. Do you understand now why I say we don't need to rely on the property to increase in value? We create that wealth. And when we get that growth, it is just a nice little byproduct of everything. So let's work through things again for you. If we were able to go out there and purchase our next investment, we've purchased it at say $300,000. Remember that usually banks are going to say, well, we use 60% of the value. I know there's a whole lot of numbers coming your way. I'm trying to make this as clear as possible. The bank's saying to you, right, you've got a $300,000 property, 60% loan will come from us, 40% from you. That means you're going to put $120,000 of a deposit in, and they're going to put in the $180,000. But then we use our principle, which is buy below value, add value. So then the value is going to turn up and go, right, your property is now worth $500,000. I know these are very round numbers, but this is the reality of what you're able to do. You are going back to the fact that the bank's willing to lend you 60% of the value of your property. Your property is now worth 500. The bank's saying, right, we'll happily give you 60% of that. Here's $300,000 against your property. But you've already got a mortgage on this property because remember, you put in 120 and they put in 180. So you've already got $180,000 mortgage, but you can now get $300,000 mortgage, which means you've got $120,000 difference. Remember, going back to our terminology, this is our usable equity. So same principle applies. We divide that by our deposit required, and you can go buy another property for $300,000, just using the original $300,000 property. So you don't have to put any more money in, and you buy another property. I think that is a boom moment. Carol, I agree with you. It's a really simple idea when you look at it from a logical standpoint, but then you need to apply it out in the real world. I understand that. But if you're able to apply it, gives you the ability to buy multiple properties, which again, create the cash flow, create the wealth. I want to show you that same deal that I just showed you before of Litz's, but from a slightly different angle. And what that's going to be is Litz's property, if you came in and rather than using equity, for this time, you've got a deposit. Because for some people, they go, right, I've got a deposit of $200,000 of cash. Not everybody, some people have that ability. So if on this property here, you came in at it and you put a deposit down, and I know that at the time of purchase was offered a 30% deposit on this property, and the bank was willing, it was a non-bank lender was willing to give her 70%. So you would require $222,000 to buy a $733,000 property. The lending coming from the lender would be $511. Remember, it needed the renovation. Now, the cool thing about this property is that when it was renovated, the valuation came in at $950,000. Remember the principle, add value, buy below value. So straight away, there is the wealth created. What is the wealth created there? $180,000 of wealth created in that deal. And the cool thing about it is that you can create a $24,000 of cash flow. Now you'll notice before I said that the cash flow was 13,000, now it's 24. Does everybody know why? Because when it was 13, we borrowed all the money to purchase the property, so there's more mortgage expenses. Whereas in this example, we've only borrowed 70% of the deposits, 70% of the purchase price, which means that we got less mortgage, which means our cash flows up. Different strategies for different people. Each one of you may look at that and come at it from a different angle. I realize it's a $730,000 property. We don't have to go to that level. I showed you Tim's deal before at $160,000. So The creation of wealth within our transactions can be done at any level. It could be done at the 700, it could be done at the 160. If you're holding it long-term, you get the great equity growth over time. But then the principle that I've shown you where we leverage out, I want to be able to show you that on this deal here. So if we had that this property that let's say has, and it's now got a value of $950,000, remember it's had the renovation, and you can borrow 70% of the property, that means that you're able to borrow $665,000 because they're lending you 70% to the value. I know there's a lot of numbers here, so apologies on that behalf, but you already had that original loan on the property and the renovation. But the difference between our new loan and our existing loan plus the renovation is actually $153,000. So that is what is able to be used from this property to then go and purchase another property. So just based on the equity created from this one property gives the ability for Litsa to be able to go and buy another property at $511,000. So the cash flow it's a really good question. Cash flow is not from selling the property. Cash flow is from the rent way outweighing the purchase price. And serviceability is an issue for many people at the moment. So it's ensuring that you're getting enough rent from your investments to be able to service the loans, to be able to keep purchasing. And if you are finding yourself in a position where serviceability is a massive issue based on your current portfolio, we might have to have a little bit of a portfolio shift and maybe slightly adjust your strategy for a while and then look to come back. And that's something I don't really have time on the power hour. We're only got an hour, but I'd love to chat further on that one, Ruby, and see if we can figure out some slide questions on that one. Absolutely, Sarah. Yes, yield. And then the equity creation is the actual wealth that we create. So I guess there's three parts to it. There's the cash flow, which is our rent less all our expenses. There's the equity creation, which is how much we're adding to the property if you're holding those properties. But if you're selling the property, then it's sold and the equity gain is the profits. What I will do tonight for you guys that have hung on, that have joined us live, I'm happy to hang on afterwards and answering these questions in a bit more detail as well, to make sure that we get you guys sorted on this. I'd love to be able to make sure that you are nice and clear and crisp on it. Remembering that this property here has the cash flow after all expenses of $13,000. So it comes back down to the idea of we don't just want to be buying off the plan. We don't want to just go and find any old property and hope that it works for us. We really want to look to have a plan in place to get us to where we want to go to. Where are we starting from, where we're getting to? Exactly like we were just talking about before, Ruby. If serviceability is an issue, let's have a look at where you're at so we can adjust strategies accordingly. And again, there's multiple different strategies that can be implemented. And one of those strategies might actually be going down a trade. Now, I'm going to share with you guys a trade that I'm currently doing. It's on the market at the moment. So you're welcome to go and buy it with me. That's cool. I'll give you the number I'd like to purchase that. So what I'd like to do now is show you this deal that is currently going. So this is a trade that I've done in Otara. So for many of you that are in Auckland, you will know about Otara, or it's a lower decile area. Lots of first home buyers starting to come into the area. Close to motorways, close to amenities, and quite an interesting sort of space. So what we did is we took a property, and I don't have the before photos on this one, just the after photos. It was very rundown, looking very, very tired, and we came up pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with the end result, and I'll share with you exactly the numbers for those of you joining us on our property masterclass, which I will share you a bit more details later on. I can share you a little bit more because I'll have before and after photos for you on that one. But the numbers on this property here. So this was purchased December last year. So only 3 months ago, end of December. So it was settled on about the 20th of December. What we then had is the ability to be able to have this property. It was asking for 669, but it had we managed to purchase this property, should I say. So I was trying to read Ruby's messages as I was talking as well. I can't multitask. I don't know what I was trying. We purchased this property at $575,000. The renovation on this property was $50,000 that we've spent to be able to bring it up to standard. That included new kitchen, bathroom, paint, carpets, a little bit of landscaping and tidy up. It's on the market now, and we're expecting a post-reno value or sale around the 740 mark. Offers are coming in close, so I'm hoping that we can get it moved nice and shortly. But offers, we're looking at around about 740, which will give a profit margin of around about $80,000, which is quite cool to be able to create $80,000 from one deal. There's probably another part which I definitely don't have time to be able to go into detail on tonight, but there's another part that's even better. And that is that I purchased this property with none of my money whatsoever and none of my equity. This was done as what we call a joint venture. So this was done with a partner. They came in and funded the property. I did the deal and we split the profits half-half. So for me, no money in the deal, $40,000 of profit. For them, no energy in the deal, just their money, and they make $40,000 of profit, which is a great win-win. And this is something that we do definitely teach to be able to make sure we can you can keep going with your investments. Cool. Now, the whole concept of tonight's webinar, or Power Hour, should I say, was about getting a legacy created for your kids or your family or your loved ones. This here is my favorite slide. And that photo there is actually on the property that I've just shown you, on the one on the right-hand side. This is my family, obviously, but mainly Isla, my eldest daughter. She's just about to turn 8. When you start to have the ability to show your loved ones a different way, they start to think differently and talk differently around what property can actually do for you. And how they look at, I guess, transactions. And I really start to see the entrepreneurial sort of thought process coming through with Isla. And this is something I'm so proud of, the way that she thinks. I mean, the photo in the middle there, she saw the lemons on our tree. She's like, you know what, Dad, I can sell these lemons. She made herself $10 that day by selling all my lemons. Like, I didn't want a gin and tonic that night because there was no lemons left. Take her to the properties. She's like, Dad, I want to go check out some smelly houses. She knows that I'm going to look at some houses. She's like, please take videos and photos. I want to see what they look like smelly, and then I want to see what they look like nice. And then she's like, okay, but when you do it, like, how much profit are you making? And now she's asking me, okay, how does it work with tax? Because you've got to pay taxes. So I'm teaching all these ideas just by her hanging around and talking. And I'm so excited to see this kind of coming about. That was actually choosing carpets for the property that we've just renovated. You can see there, and the family jumping in. So it starts to really become an impact that you can make on those loved ones. And that really is something which I think you can't put a price on that. The ideas and the concepts that you're starting to share with those around you. Now, I'm going to come back to the Property Masterclass. I've mentioned a few times, I've been teasing you guys. This is one of our amazing 2-day events that I do have coming up. We've actually got this in about 4 weeks' time. So no worries with schedules, because it's in 4 weeks' time. You can clear your schedule. It's done virtually. And the dates for that coming up, guys, is the 25th and the 26th of March, 2023. So that there is our Property Masterclass coming up, which I'll give you a bit more details. But before I do give you any more details, I'd actually like to share with you guys one of our amazing students, someone who's out there doing it with his investments. Stephen, are you around, my friend?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, brilliant. Welcome. Thank you so much. So I brought Stephen on because tonight's webinar, and this is the first time he's jumped on and done a testimonial, even though he's an old school Wealth Mentor student, even though he's only, 27 years old?
28, yeah.
Oh, you're old man. So 28 years old, but I wanted to bring him on. I called him this afternoon. I said, tonight's webinar, Power Hour, is about legacy. And your story really is like legacy 101. So let's start off, Steve. How did you actually come about Wealth Mentor?
So I'm a high school dropout, and my parents didn't want me to be a complete failure in life. So they said, if you're going to leave high school, you need to get some sort of further education. If you're not going to uni, you've got to find something that you want to do. So I thought property would be a good gig. I saw them renovating houses all my life. So I've been on a paintbrush since I was 4 years old, painting the deck or doors or whatever dad was working on, even
Yeah.
though he had to repaint them after us, but it was good fun. And then, yeah, we went to about 4 different, say, property education companies, and then Wealth Mentor really stood out as the best one. So went and got the training from the team at Wealth Mentor and learned how to make property a business. And I guess the rest of the history went away from there.
Yeah.
So it's been a
How
ride.
old were you when you found Wealth Mentor? Through your
Would have
parents, really?
been about 17, just going 18.
It's amazing. I love that. All right. So from that, it's obviously been a few years now because you're almost 10 years. Geez, you're getting experience. What sort of strategies have you implemented in those 10 years?
We started sort of like everybody that's trying to get some cash together, flipping houses. So parents kind of got wiped out in the GFC. They had to sell at the bottom of the market, so they lost all their equity. So we did a renovation on credit card and borrowed money from the grandparents to do the first one. Made a good profit from buying well, and then did another and another. And then we got into sort of the buy and hold space after that, converting houses into, say, home and income type things, trying to leverage a larger property and create more rental streams off of that. And then sort of about 3 years ago, got into the property development space. So I guess we've done a bit of everything.
Awesome. And just quickly, a little bit about your developments, because you are doing quite large scale developments.
Yeah. So our first one was a 6-lot development. We transported some houses onto that one. So split up property into 6 sections, picked up houses from Hamilton, put them on the back of trucks and brought them onto the site, renovated and sold those. Did a quick little house and 3-lot conversion, sold that off. Now we're doing a 19-lot development. We're expecting titles in about 2 months. So we're just waiting for the asphalt to go down on the road. And we've just got a new valuation coming in on a property that's been granted resource consent for 20 townhouses that we picked up that site at the price of a sort of a typical house that you'd have to renovate and trade. So that was quite a bargain. And then another 1 or 2 properties that I might be missing in between all of that.
Just 1 or 2. It's a really cool story, Steve, and like thanks so much for jumping on, because I did only give you a call earlier this afternoon, so thanks for jumping in. One last thing, obviously your journey's been epic. Your parents have also changed their whole investing. One little bit of feedback you'd give to anybody jumping on here tonight, and whether they should come and learn from us.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. And coming from the perspective of, we were flipping houses and thought we knew what we were doing. So we hummed and hard about signing up to any sort of training, but the difference between doing something professionally, trained by someone that is doing way more volume than you, or just finding more deals than you, and the confidence that comes with having a team of people that can sort of hold your hand through. Even if you're doing stuff now and you're doing well, it'll 10x what you can do, having a solid team around you and training and confidence. So there's no chance we'd be doing anything like we're doing today without the Wealth Mentor team.
Legend. Well, I'm going to share very shortly some of the team that will be speaking, but I mean, if I throw some names at you, Belinda will be there, Ryan will be there, Helen will be there, Paul Southey will be there. So there's some pretty cool of the team members that will be speaking. So thanks so much, Steve, for jumping out and sharing your time. If you guys have any questions for Steve, he might be hanging around just for a few minutes. Hit him up in the chat. But let's keep on trucking. Thanks, Steve, once again. I've talked about the masterclass. You guys have heard from Steve what it is. I just want to give you a little bit of detail about how those 2 days look. Now, remember, the 2 days are virtual. They are streamed just like this from Zoom, except we do it from a full-on studio where we present. There's a couple of people that have been on. Cadby, you were on the last one. I can see you there. Give us in the chat how you enjoyed the last masterclass. Without swear words, Cadby. I know you too well. But basically, these are the strategies that we talk about. We go into quite a bit of detail within the 2 days. The different team will present on the different topics. For example, I take you through trading. I spend about an hour on property trading, the fundamentals, what you want to be looking at, how you can ensure that you are doing it correctly. We go through multi-income properties. The team is all there to be able to make sure that we can educate you in different spaces. Now, because you all come from different backgrounds, we also have some one-on-one time where you actually sit one-on-one with some of the mentors and work through your position, because if some of that LVR stuff felt a little bit off, we can make sure we understand that and we can talk through that. If it's something else that we need to work through, for example, serviceability is holding you back, how can we work through that? So there is one-on-one consultations as well during the 2 days. Helen comes in as one of our mentors, as well as a full-time, or I say full-time, she doesn't work much, an accountant as well. Unbelievable knowledge in the accounting space, and she talks on taxes as well. I said that I'd share with you the team. Here they are: Belinda, Therese, we've got Paul, Ryan. Ryan is he's like our economist of our group, but he puts things from a real logical standpoint. He spends about an hour talking through market conditions and how to look at it without the headache of listing it from an economist standpoint. It's really cool to listen to. Helen and obviously myself will be there as well to be able to share the knowledge over the 2 days, which is pretty epic. Again, everyone's journey is different. I've mentioned this a few times, so we want to make sure that we can ensure we are working through your process for you guys and making sure we can figure out the best way for you guys going through things. Those dates, once again, 25th and 26th of March. If those dates are an issue, I know it's 4 weeks in advance, we do have more dates coming up in 2023, which you'll be able to jump on, but you'll be able to take advantage of tonight's deal. There is a QR code right there for you guys if you'd like to scan on your phone to be able to grab the details of that. Carol, do you mind popping the link in the chat for me as well? So you guys, you are too good, Carol. Carol's there as well. I didn't even mention you, Carol. How rude. Carol's there to talk on social housing as well. So let's just talk through exactly what you get as part of our masterclass. So obviously you get the 2 days. You also get a one-on-one strategy consultation leading up to the event. So that's actually done with Carol, where you'll jump on the phone with Carol and have a bit of a chat leading up to it. Online resources as well, lifetime support from Wealth Mentor, as well as a strategy call, which is what we talked about before, and that one-on-one during the 2 days as well. Usually we offer this at $14.97, but because we're in the virtual space and we want to make sure that we can get you guys into it, because guess what, now is the best time to be buying property. I don't know if you guys realize this, but literally the best time to be buying properties. I was at the auction rooms today. The deals are there, but values are starting to go a little bit more momentum. There's a little bit more momentum coming in the market, so definitely want to be looking to take advantage of things right now. So we're actually offering this at $295, which is an absolutely ridiculous offer for 2 days with our team. Call with Carol, taxes, one-on-one sessions with the team. There really is no excuse. We've priced it that because we want to make sure we can educate and show as many people as possible what is possible. And one of the other people that will be there, and I showed you his deal earlier today, is our friendly Australian Tim. Tim, you there, mate? I told everybody that. Oh, cool. I know you were cooking dinner for the family, but I did.
I snuck it in just in time.
I did tell everybody that you'd share a bit of details because I showed them to Maru and I said there's actually been a little bit of a shift. But anyway, let's start off with Tim, introduce yourself.
My name's Tim. I'm located in Melbourne. I did my property masterclass a little over nearly coming up to 2.5 years ago, I'd say. And since then, we sort of have done quite well. I think our first deal made just shy of $500,000, and rolling on to more deals at the moment. Yeah.
That's cool. So the deal that you did at the moment, we ran the numbers and you had that end reno sale price.
Yes.
But things shifted a little bit on that one. I know that it's an interesting time because it hasn't actually gone unconditional. So we probably can't disclose a lot of information, but you've actually ended up selling it prior to renovating.
Yeah, so we're currently under contract. We've got a sale contract in place at the moment that would see us make about $40,000 for not really doing a whole lot, to be honest.
Oh, you changed the door handle?
I put a door handle on it, yeah. And I think we cleaned out a couple of beds and a cupboard or two. That was about it.
Yeah, when I say you changed the door handle, you're in Melbourne and your team changed the door handle. I like that.
I
That is
said-
one thing
I
that,
said an email.
yes, that's one thing we do talk a lot about during the masterclass as well, is how you can actually be an investor and not have to be there the whole time. Because a lot of people don't like the idea of actually being on site, and how you can do it remotely. And Tim's obviously a prime example of being able to do that. Tim, so you jump on all the masterclasses. Why do you do that?
It's a bit of a two-part thing. It's nice to keep having that information just drummed into you until it's sort of as well known to you as like speaking English, I guess. And I always come away from that weekend with like an increased level of enthusiasm and sort of drive to go out there and chase more deals. But it's also nice to be there to help other people that are sort of where I started, and sort of help them along their journey in terms of any questions that they might have, or whether they think it's real, or whether it's genuine. And it's always nice to be able to go through and do that with new people as well.
Yeah, because you don't have to be, an advanced investor. We get people coming in from all levels, and that's really fun to see people grow from all spaces.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing I liked about you guys from the beginning. That was one of the things that drew me in, that you do cater across the board. It's not sort of you don't necessarily have to be at a certain point to get a lot of knowledge out of it. You guys really do run from basics right up to sort of some more advanced strategies. And I think that range really fits a great deal of people.
I'm going to do something that's going to hurt you a little bit, but I'm offering it tonight for $295. How much did you pay to attend the masterclass?
I think it was like $3,500.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. But hey, it was well worth it. And like I said, we made just shy, I think we made $475,000 on our first property deal. So well worth the investment at the time. And for $295, I think you're absolutely crazy if you don't come along to that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Awesome. Thanks so much, Tim. I take it you'll be there in the chat. If anybody does have any questions about what Tim's up to or how he's gone about things, please feel free to hit him up on the private messages. But thanks heaps for your time and interrupting your dinner. Hopefully Evie's well fed.
All done. Thanks very much, mate. No worries.
All right, mate. Cheers. Cool. So just one more quote there. It is obviously the ability to be able to share with everybody. The team is pretty awesome that we do have there at the masterclass. And we want to offer one extra thing, and that is that you can bring a friend along for free. So this is actually for you and a partner. It's obviously nice to do this with somebody as a support system. So this is actually for you and a partner, 2 tickets to the masterclass. So let's run over that again for everybody. So you got all the inclusions, the call with Carol leading up, the session with us during the masterclass as well. It's done with myself, with one of the mentors. We usually get about half an hour one-on-one where we work through things. For 2 of you at only $295. So absolute ridiculous opportunity for you guys to get on there, start to learn. Even if you pick up one little thing that's going to change your future, whether it's even buying your home and making a correct decision, I think it is well worth the opportunity to learn and grow, because you can't just stay the same. We need to continue growing. And on that note, I think it's time. We're at 9 o'clock. You've got the link. There's the QR code once again. Thank you, Carol. Claim your spot right now. Make sure you can put the coupon code in. It's a nice big button down the bottom. I've got a coupon code. Click on that. Put deal 295, and you'll be able to grab those tickets for $295. And I'm so confident that if you're going to enjoy the masterclass so much that if by lunchtime on day one you're like, you know what, John, it's not quite for us, I'll refund you your $295. So I'm that confident that you guys will absolutely enjoy your time with us at the masterclass. So make sure you jump on there, guys. Decide what path we're going to take. I love this one. Are we going to keep doing nothing? Do what we've always done. It was a time to invest in yourself, take action, and grow. I said I would hang around at the end of tonight. So guys, thank you so much for jumping on and joining us for tonight's Power Hour. It's been really good. So nice to see all those cameras on, and hope you've enjoyed it. Here's a couple of quotes from people as well with the link, and I'll hit stop recording and I'll be around to answer any questions for you guys that are here live. Thank you so much again to you guys for joining us tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure, and look forward to meeting you all again in the very, very near future. Good night, everybody.